Crystal Deal With It focuses on bridging the gap between where you're at now and where you'd like to be. We'll explore wisdom and techniques from a wide variety of domains and industries and apply them to your unique challenges. I love developing frameworks, processes, and storytelling metaphors that enable personal and business growth. Through actionable next steps, we'll build momentum and confidence. My goal is to help you clear roadblocks, do more with what you have, and realize the potential of yourself and your team. So throw your challenges my way, and Chris will deal with it. Welcome to episode 26 of Chris will deal with it, Advice in the Age of Algorithms. An AI statement. All elements of this episode are products of the author, Chris Kreuter, and created without the use of AI tools. So let's get to today's question. I'm a junior in college and gearing up for my first major summer internship. I'm worried about the rising influence of AI apps like ChatGPT. What advice would you give to somebody entering the workforce in this new environment? So I'll start with the main summary of everything I'm about to say. Focus on your humanness. We live in complex, turbulent times. We have wealth, tools, and opportunities that are beyond our ancestors' wildest dreams, but we're no less human than they were. So many of us are lost in screens, hobbled by attention spans measurable in milliseconds, letting the dopamine parade continue with another swipe and another swipe and another swipe. Make no mistake, we're in the midst of seismic shifts in many industries. Algorithms and generative AI programs grow in sophistication and usage at an insane pace. I worry about friends working as copywriters, sports columnists, paralegals, insurance salespeople, just to name a few of the many fields facing economic realities, even existential crises, as software replaces humans responsible for rote, quantifiable, and predictable tasks. But today's episode isn't meant to be a treatise on how these tools are shifting society. It's about what our asker can do now to better prepare themselves for this uncertainty. Which brings me back to the summary at the start. You have to focus on what makes your humanity valuable, and it'll enable you to thrive despite whatever comes your way. And there's so many directions to explore here. So on today's episode, I'm just going to cover three major themes that I feel are the most poignant for someone anticipating the transition from a formal education to the realities of adulting. 1. Curiosity. 2. Network. And 3. Evolution. Starting with curiosity. Don't confuse algorithms and AI apps as sentient beings with thoughts and emotions. They're programmed learning modules. Despite their powerful abilities, they're really a function of guidelines and inputs. They don't strive for any particular objectives other than those they're programmed to strive for. Each of us is also a product of the influences and momentum of our past actions, but we retain the free will to aspire to things or aspiring to change. You want to embrace the elements of your nature that are uniquely human. The physical world will always have greater resolution than digital ones. Just like human connection face-to-face will always carry more weight than a digital interaction. There are just deeper layers of complexity that don't fit the 0 or 1, us or them, red versus blue nature of a lot of our digital interactions. It's also really imperative in this day and age to maintain curiosity about how these tools are developed. You need to keep up with technical developments. Don't just use the tools. Understand who's made them and for what intent. I'm not recommending you understand every nuance of their programming and how to code and all that stuff, but you really do need to understand their methodology and how it produces the results that you're enjoying. You want to pay special attention to the biases and limitations of their outputs before you start using them. With curiosity, it's vital to note that it's a lifelong journey. Our asker may be in the start of adulthood, but this advice is equally important as those nearing retirement. It's vital that we don't surrender our humanness to systems or programs that we don't understand. And this isn't going to be easy, which is what makes it one of the great differentiators for our asker's future success. Particular fields will always have their gatekeepers, certifications, licenses, etc. But that's just the cost of entry. You got to think of them as the rules of the game. You have to know what your guideposts are, but the fun comes from developing a winning strategy within those rules. And the broader and deeper your experience is outside of your field, the greater diversity of strategies that you can bring to bear within it. And learning shouldn't end with your degree. Be curious about the world, work on identifying trends, find ideas and inspiration from other fields. Can you apply any to your current one? Develop stronger mental models that help you clearly see how the world actually works, and seek out a diversity of opinions. Which brings us to our second topic, network. Regardless of the tools you use, the majority of us rely on our communities to survive and thrive. While making your way through the world and your career, your success is going to be improved if you maintain strong networks. And to do that, you have to be a friend first. Develop thoughtful, strong connections through shared interests, human empathy, and aiding them in times of need. You got to dig the well before you're thirsty. So if you treat people in a beneficial way over a long enough time scale, that's going to provide you not just immense joy and satisfaction in life, it's also going to serve as a safety net in times of need. It'll be hard for our asker to relate to this now, but if you lost your job, who are the first 5 people you'd call? How much help would they be able or willing to provide? If you're curious about a topic or how to handle a situation, who in your network can you reach out to for expert advice or interesting opinions? So, the size and diversity of your network, or the podcasts you listen to, or the shows that you watch, or the books that you read, these are uniquely human assets that are going to pay you dividends throughout life, that proverbial well to help you weather personal droughts. So, lastly, I want to talk about evolution. You want to embrace the shifts in your life. Few of us are going to have entire careers devoted to what we focused on in our formal schooling. I'll use myself as an example here. Nearly 20 years ago, I went to school focused on underwater systems engineering, and I've spent most of the years since loving my career supporting the construction and operation of public transit trains and buses. Your interests and situations are going to change, and those changes are often unpredictable and out of your control. That could include having to move, having children, changes in health, environmental changes, corporate downsizing, an idea or product or podcast you create that goes viral. With so much uncertainty, it's imperative that you maintain a mindset that's open to evolving. This is why I led today's episode with the importance of curiosity and lifelong learning. One of my personal guiding principles is to have thoughtful opinions, but hold them loosely. And I'll dig more into that in a future show. You want to avoid being headstrong and insisting the world is a particular way. It's impossible for any one of us to grasp the entire scope of existence. So live more in the questions, not your certainty of particular answers. And yeah, sometimes this means embracing uncomfortable or even painful realizations and situations. You want to evolve always through your failures and your successes. Get comfortable leveraging your network to help you navigate the difficult times that are certain to come. Dealing with hard things now are going to set up future you with better circumstances and opportunities. And support others going through painful times. That can also help you evolve to better weather your own situations in the future, as long as you're open to constant evolution. So going back to the game analogy I used earlier, the more games you've played and the more times you've played them, the better able you'll be to adapt to new situations and new rules. There's a distinct advantage to bringing a diversity of experience to the table. You'll see patterns that other players won't. And there is another aspect to this game analogy, where a player can also be deeply enmeshed in the rules and strategies of one singular game. Someone with deep domain knowledge and a long-term experience in the field will still have an advantage over those with novel strategies that are new to the game. But they must live with the danger of elements of those rules changing or becoming obsolete. They'll have fewer footholds from which to adapt. And this is where the dangers of algorithms and generative AI must be understood. Can you identify aspects of your prospective career that have a likelihood of shifting drastically in the coming years? The quote for today's episode comes from Rob Reed, who had a recent article in Ars Technica that highlights some of the dangers of generative AI. Of course, people have been warning about AI risks since before even Stanley Kubrick's 1968 classic 2001: A Space Odyssey. But the danger we should worry about today isn't super AI, it's bad people super empowered by generative AI. Again, I'll have a link to that in the show notes. It's a fantastic article I think everyone should read. One last thing, I just want to point out that I do have a monthly newsletter that I send out that'll have links to all the episodes in the past month, some notes on the writing and other things that I produce, but also helpful links and podcasts that I find inspiring, books that I'm reading, other kinds of recommendations and tidbits. Tend to be really short emails once a month at most. I don't sell anyone's contact information. So if you do want to connect with me on another level, if you just want to learn a little bit more and connect with my thoughts in a different way, the newsletter is a great way to just be more informed on everything that Creative Studios is putting out. With that, thanks and have a great day.
If you feel that Chris dealt with it, I'd appreciate your support of the show by sharing it with someone who might benefit.
Ratings on your favorite podcast player are also helpful in growing the audience. Visit chriskreuter.com for free downloadable PDFs with notes and resources from today's episode, sign up for the CDWI mailing list, or to send in your problems or requests for future shows. That's CHRISKREUTER.com, or use the link in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Chris will deal with it.